Dan and Alexia, this right here is a copy of the deal from Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. in which he pled guilty to multiple charges, including 3 counts of first-degree murder. I spoke with CBS19 legal analyst Scott Goodman and asked him the big question. Will Jones ever see life outside of prison ever again?
By entering into this plea agreement, calling for regular first-degree murder and not aggravated first-degree murder, there's the possibility that Mr. Jones could receive a sentence less than mandatory life.
In the plea deal, Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. pled guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of aggravated malicious wounding, and 5 counts of the use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. The big difference from Jones's original charges is the difference between aggravated murder, which in Virginia requires a mandatory life sentence without parole, versus regular first-degree murder that doesn't have a minimum sentence. CBS19 legal analyst Scott Goodman says he still thinks a judge could sentence Jones to life.
I think it's going to be very unlikely for the judge to sentence him to less than life in prison simply because you have a heinous crime that took 3 young lives away from their families for no good reason.
Goodman says if that's not the case, Jones will have to serve 85% of his sentence before he would ever get out from behind bars.
For example, if this individual, Mr. Jones, ends up getting 50 years in prison overall, he would have to serve at least 42 years of that sentence before he could be released.
Though the plea deal does technically lessen the mandatory charges, Goodman says it saves the families from what they would endure at the trial.
It does spare the families the trauma of a trial, having to sit through days and days of testimony and having pictures of their dead children shown in court, the medical examiner reporting about the bullet wounds and the severe trauma to the body that these wounds caused.
His trial was originally set for January 22nd, 2025. Now, we also did confirm this afternoon Jones is set to have a public sentencing on starting February 4th, that is, of 2025, in which a judge will determine Jones's fate behind bars. Live on ground, Sarah Allen, CBS 19 News.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Well, this crime sent shockwaves through the University and Charlottesville community, and you'll remember that schools were closed due to that manhunt.
Just last week, there was a pause on grounds to remember the victims. CBS 19's Pimm Dyar talked to students on grounds today about how they're feeling after the plea deal. Pimm, do they have any sense of closure yet?
The shooting has had a lasting impact on grounds. You can see just behind me the Beta Bridge that's still painted in honor of the 3 football players that were killed. I spoke with UVA students on grounds today, and they say this is a step in the right direction.
I had a friend who was impacted directly. She was on that bus, so I know how much that really took a toll on her. Justice was rightfully served, and everything turned out how it was supposed to.
And I think it'll be just really important for closing the door on that and letting us move on as a community.
It feels good to, have justice for those families. I think it just provides some closure, hopefully, to everyone involved.
A good result that I think everyone was hoping for.
It will bring that sense of community even stronger together, and we'll be able to, just side together as a community.
UVA has released a statement that says, in quote, university leaders have committed to release copies of an external review commissioned by Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares at the conclusion of the criminal proceedings and plan to provide the documents in the public after sentencing is final in February. Now, we will continue to cover this case as it progresses. Live on ground, Pimm Dyar, CBS 19 News.
Pimm, thank you. Now, the other big part of this, that shooting report that they mentioned in that statement from UVA, that report has never been made public.
University leadership did not want that release to be reported until the criminal case was over, despite calls from victims' families to release it when it was finished. Our CBS 19's Mark Gad picks up our team coverage. And Mark, you spoke with family members of a victim today, right?
Yeah, Alexia, I did. I spoke to attorney Michael Haggard, and he told me while the university has done a great job in honoring the victims, their refusal to release that independent report sends a mixed message.
well, we'll give you the report here. Well, now it might interfere somehow with the criminal case, which was never explained to anyone how that could happen.
Michael Haggard represents the parents of Deshaun Perry, Mike Hollins, and his co-counsel for Marley Morgan, 3 of the 5 victims that were on that bus 2 years ago. He tells me the parents have been frustrated with the university not releasing the independent report on what happened.
All the families want to do is they want to know what happened. The criminal proffer today, as difficult as it is to read, even in black and white lettering, it helps the families grieve and heal in a way because they know a little more details.
Haggard says this report should have the details of what led up to the shooting and if things could have been handled differently.
The inconsistent messaging has not been helpful, but the families want to move forward. They don't want to read in a month that this happened at Ohio State, that it happened at South Carolina. We can stop these things, and so they want to move forward at peace with the university.
The university has said it will release the report after Darnell Jones Jr. sentencing in February. Now, when it comes to the sentencing, Haggard tells me the victims were hoping for more.
So the families, they've lost their most precious gifts, and to think that this killer would get anything other than the ultimate sentence in the state of Virginia, which is life imprisonment, would be incredibly disappointing.
Again, that sentencing is scheduled for February of next year. Haggard told me that he and the families will be there, and they're going to push for life behind bars. Live on grounds, I'm Mark Gad, CBS 19 News.